Hi, and welcome to Atelier Lumikha High-Rise course. I'll just be going through a few highlights of the application that we use. It's a customer relationship management platform that we use primarily for communication and also to accrue data on people we might want to sell to, people we might want to hire, and then people we want to talk to using various marketing techniques like email campaigns or direct mail. So right now I'm presented with the login screen, and it's pre-populated because I use something called LastPass, which is a handy way to capture all your passwords and have them available to you conveniently. So I'll just sign in. And then while that's loading, we'll just be looking at the latest activity screen, which kind of presents any recent activity. Get rid of this. You can look at all users. You can also just look at yourself, depending on your level of access. So right now, this is just showing me mostly activity that I've executed, like deleting people or checking off tasks. You'll see when you look at the screen that you've got a series of different options that you can go through. Most of those are pretty self-explanatory, at least the ones you need to be familiar with. Cases and deals, we don't need to worry about that right now, and broadcast is a way to do blast email. You can also search notes if that's what you're interested in. So if you're interested in tracking a particular activity that would be annotated using a keyword, you can search notes that way. Let's see, you've also got recently viewed, so this will show you all the contacts that you've recently looked at or edited. And then you've got your upcoming tasks, and then you have the ability to add tasks from here. We'll cover adding tasks here shortly. So right now what I want to do is just kind of go through reviewing a contact and updating the information on that, because that's really what we're focusing in right now on Highrise, which is sort of clean up our database, get rid of things that shouldn't be in the database, and then also update all the information we possibly can. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for a name. I'll just randomly use Robert, and then I'll select to see all of these contacts presented to me. It's just sort of a random way to go about it. You can search any one of a number of ways, so I can filter these contacts by any of the fields that we have in that we currently use in the contact view. But there's also a number of other things that we can sort through, or we can also search by tag, and then tags. This is an example of a couple of tags, right? So we tagged BPO and expat. The BPO, although we're not going to be using these tags moving forward because the information is contained in the contact fields, this is just a good example to see how they present themselves. It's sort of an easy way to identify things. So for example, one way that I'm using tag right now is if I update a record, I just put my name on there so I know I've hit it. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at one of these records that may or may not be updated. So I'll look at Robert Cole-Clow, pull that up. So when you first look at the record, it doesn't give you an edit field. It just gives you kind of a high-level view. The left side remains exactly the same as it does throughout the application. You'll see basically the name, the title, the company, any tags. You can add a note straight from here about Robert. So if, for example, I've just spoken with him and he's interested in I can make that note there. I can also send an email to Robert straight from here, which is kind of a nice way to track it in through the application, so that every time I communicate in a marketing or in a business development capacity, I would send it out through Highrise. It's good practice to get into. Let's see. And then the most important thing in terms of updating records is you'll notice that most of the contacts that we have a link to LinkedIn. So we use that information that's encapsulated in LinkedIn to update the record properly, right? And there's good reasons to do that. So you kind of want to check in. You're sort of verifying the record in Highrise. This way, you know that you've got the most updated information as far as they have decided to update it, right? Because you have to go in and update your own record in Highrise. Now, in this case, I'm not connected to him. This Robert Cole-Clow character. So I'm going to connect to him. And my technique for that is just to say we've done business together. If we haven't, I just throw that in there. That allows me to send the invitation. You're capped at how many people you can invite in a day, so you don't want to go crazy with this. I don't know what the top is, but if you get nailed for spamming on LinkedIn, that's information. So I invited him. Okay, so I know that there's information to be had. No doubt, there's no doubt that there's information to be had about this character Cole-Clow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and go into the record and go into edit the record. And basically the only bit. Okay, so the information that's here is actually fairly complete, right? It gives its title, it gives the company he's working for, it gives an email that's totally critical that we get that. The website's nice. If possible, we want to get a Skype handle. And then the other thing that's really, or one of the other things that's really critical is getting the country selected, right? So we want to know where this guy is because that directly impacts the way that we might want to target. So I mean, I might send different emails to people in the U.S. than I do in the Philippines. Okay, so what I'm doing right now is I'm updating. Just trying to think about this. Okay, so let's call it Bonifacio City. I'm just updating the information. It's sort of just thrown everything in the address, which isn't very searchable. So I want to have as much accuracy as I can in the fields, right? So having the whole address up here doesn't really help me. I need to get all that put there. So we go back to his link. So in this case, there's a little bit of information available about him, not a lot. Unfortunately, normally you can select this contact info and pick that up. And I think we have all the information that we can have on him already in the record. So what I'm going to do is just go ahead and identify that status as contact, which means that I've gone in and made an attempt to find him on the web. The category is other. Right. Source is LinkedIn. We don't have a list associated with him, and that really wouldn't be something that you would ever add if you're updating records. That'll be loaded when we add the when we add a list that we've either bought or scraped. Campaign ID, you don't need to worry about that either. That's something that we'll assign after the fact once we start using some robust marketing. Once we start bringing people in through that way, that might be a source for us. Referred by, get rid of that because we already got that in LinkedIn. His industry is financial services. We're not going to worry about the process because he's not in the BPO space. He's not in SMB either. We don't need to worry about that. That's pre-populated. That's for small direct marketing or businesses that we're going to direct market to in the U.S. that are typically smaller. And then he looks British to me. So, and usually British, I gather from looking at the academic background of the person, right? So I see what college they went to and usually use that. All right, so I don't really know anything about this guy, so I'm not going to put any background information. If it was someone I met at an event or something like that, I would absolutely do that. All right, so just save him off. And so that's basically how to update a record. A couple of other things to go over real quick. I'm going to tag him as an expat. This will allow us to sort things later. So for certain things that we're checking, we'll tag them to do something with them later. So for delete, we have a bunch of stuff that we're getting rid of in the database, and then XPaths will be exported to a separate database. And then what I can do is I can search a group based on a tag, right? So I can select a tag, and then it'll pull up everything that's been tagged for deletion, right? So then I would go spot check this and see if we definitely want to do that. So that's kind of a cool feature. Is you can really search the database almost any way you want to, so you can see where the tags are here. So let's say if I want to look at the ones that I've updated recently, I can just do a quick search. So those are ones I've just updated or added over the weekend. Let's see. Okay, tasks. So associated with any task, or associated with any contact, I can create a task. Hold on here. Okay. So and you'll notice that there's an add task feature there. So if I want to add a task about Robert, which is I can set that for myself, and then I can go ahead and set that maybe for later in the week. I can assign anyone who's assigned to the project to do so. Right? I can do it a category. So I'll just call that follow up, and I'll add this task. So now I've assigned a task for myself, and I'll receive a reminder on that day. And then when I log in, I can also look at my tasks. Right? So I can see what tasks are assigned to me. Okay, so that's really just a quick. Breezy run through Highrise. There's also a set of there's some documentation here for the project, which I will share as well. And this just very quickly kind of runs through the phases, and I'll just talk about that quickly. So typically we'll get a lead into the database or prospect into the database through web forms and email inquiries, which amount to the same thing. We have web forms on different sites. And then also through social media. You can also get inquiries that way. So each time we're going to have data that arrives in Highrise, and then it will be someone's job to update that record, to send a meeting request in case of blind inquiries, set a meeting by contacting the person, ask them for any information we need, right? And then when we do the call, we'll have the meeting, do the call. We may update the information, add some more notes on it. And then we'll assign a task, right? So some of this will be to send a proposal, send them some information, call them back, or whatever. Or indeed, we may even delete them from the database if they're not relevant, right? So as they go through here, we kind of have different steps. So we have a prospect. Sorry about that. Then once we've updated the record, it becomes a contact. Once we've qualified that person as a lead, and basically qualification consists of determining what they want to do, if they're interested in doing business with us on any level, or working for us as well. Once we're in discussions with them, that's engagement, right? So that would be when we're sending proposals, making job offers, doing diligence on the vendor of some kind. Once we've decided to take the step to do business, we have a contract in hand. They'll be active. And then at some point, maybe the project ends, they resign working for us, or the vendor goes away for whatever reason, then we'll tag them as inactive. In that case, we'll go back and remarket to them later. Inactive data is actually really pretty valuable. A lot of referrals that we get for call centers that we use for MapHop come from inactive clients. Okay, so that's about it. This is just a recap of what we talked about here. Just quickly, I've got a set of definitions for the various fields for you, and then some flow charts about how to go about the various tasks that we have, based on logging in, checking tasks, seeing if there's email, seeing if we have new contacts, how to go about updating the records. That's a duplicate, which I delete. Assigning a task. And then also kind of a little bit about the sources and where we get stuff, right? So we have manual stuff that we get in, like business cards, events, social media, email, or calls. And then we also have different websites that give us data. And then this is actually some field mapping that the developers use to set up to automate the web data coming into Highrise. And I think that's about it. Thank you.